Shields up, Ironbreakers. Burkan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. This title was sent to me by Nintendo so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. However, this particular video is not my traditional review because at this point I still haven't finished the game. Now I do have 28 hours in this particular version of the game, and I played about 70 hours or so of the 3DS version, so I have a pretty good idea of where the story goes, even though I haven't seen the actual ending of it. And on top of it, I have played the entirety of Xenoblade Chronicles X, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna Golden Country. You guys might be wondering, so you played all of these Xenoblade Chronicles games and you never finished the original? No, it was a timing thing. Back in the day when Xenoblade Chronicles came out, I was going to get it, ended up not getting it, eventually got another console. It's a long story, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. And essentially when it comes to the 3DS version, I just feel like the 3DS doesn't really do justice to a JRPG with the magnitude of Xenoblade Chronicles. Like, you guys don't understand how big this game is, how massive the areas are, and how much exploration there is to be done, which is, to me personally, quite simply not as enjoyable on such a small handheld console. The Switch, really, when it comes to handhelds, is just the best that ever came out as far as I'm concerned, and you guys can say that I'm a fanboy, whatever, I don't care. And let me just tell you right from the get-go that when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles, I very much am a fanboy, so take anything that I'm about to say, not just with a grain of salt, but with a large bag of salt. Now, I can be objective about the shortcomings of this game, which definitely it has quite a few, and it is not a game that is for everyone, but for someone like me that really just enjoys the usual themes and the art of Xenoblade Chronicles, just the art in general of these particular titles, it's just a fantastic title that I can just get in there. And usually I do the live stream and I try to live stream all of the story things, but whenever I'm not live streaming, I'm actually back in the game and I'm just like running through the world and just enjoying the exploration and doing some of the side quests. And I'll tell you right now that one of the big complaints that a lot of people are going to have with this game is the ridiculous amount of side quests that this game has, because it does have a lot, and most of them are in fact quite mundane. Like, you'll come up to an NPC and they'll be like, hey, can you go and you kill 5 of these monsters for me, and kill 3 of these ones as well, and then kill 4 of these ones, and then kill this bigger one. You know, that is something that happens quite a bit. Other times it's like, hey, can you go get me 4 of this thing? And this was actually something that was very frustrating for me in the 3DS version of the game, because there just wasn't a couple of quality of life things there that would make it easier for you to track these quests, because I'm someone who's a bit of a completionist. Like, I'm not full-on completionist that I'll be like, I can't finish this game until I finish every single side quest the game possibly has. But you know, if I see a side quest every now and then, I'll be like, hey, I feel like doing a couple of side quests. And one of the things that frustrated me the most in the 3DS is that a lot of times I'd be like, hey, I want to do this side quest. So you can go onto the menu and you can hit the tracking button and it would tell you, I think you would have like an arrow that would point in the general direction of where you would have to go, but it was extremely hard for some quests to figure out exactly what you had to do. And if I had a complaint about the 3DS version, which I played, and I'm assuming the original Wii version, that would probably be the biggest thing for me. It's not even that the side quests are not the most interesting thing, because I already know they're not. It's just the fact that it was also challenging just to figure out where exactly you had to go to encounter the thing that you had to do, and what were the conditions that had to be present in that place for the thing to happen to allow you to actually do the quest. And that is one of the things that I feel has been greatly improved in this version of the game, because we get a completely revamped UI that is much friendlier, that is much easier to understand. The tutorials were already, they're already, in my opinion, not the best. Like, you can always go back, reread the tutorials to try and figure out how the combat works and the combo systems and all of that. But if you have a little bit of experience in playing Chronicles X or any of the other Chronicles titles, it should be fairly easy for you to understand, okay, what I want to do is I want to try to get someone that breaks, and then after I break, I want to try to get someone that topples, and after I topple, I want to try to get someone that dazes. And that's like the extent of the combo that I'm at right now. I believe that further ahead there will be more things that you can do. But like I said, it's been a long time since I played the original Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'm really, really taking my time with this one and just soaking up all of the environment and all of that stuff. But Together with the new AI, they also added quite a few quality of life things that make it a lot easier for you to track down which quests you're working on and which zones you actually need to go to. So like, for instance, you can mark a quest as active, like a side quest that you want to do. And then if you go to, to fast travel to different zones, because you can fast travel in this game, for those of you that are not aware, it will actually mark you like, oh, here's where you need to go to complete this quest. And then you go there and it will show you on the map, like, here's where the thing is that you need to go get. Now, sometimes you can still run into a situation where it's like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get there. And the game still, you still have to think about how you're going to, navigate the map and whatnot to get to the place you're supposed to be. But trust me when I tell you, it is leagues better than the 3DS version. Now, naturally, with a remaster of this magnitude, there's also quite a bit of improvements on the visual side of things. And that, I believe, is something that a lot of people have been criticizing. And they're right. They're absolutely right to criticize the visual aspect of Xenoblade Chronicles, because a lot of people expect, this game to just maybe run at 1080p and maybe a little bit better FPS. And that's just never going to be something that is going to be realistic on a console like the Nintendo Switch, which is something that I've personally already accepted when it comes to the Xenoblade Chronicles series, is that they're never going to be performance marvels. It's just not going to be a thing, because their worlds are just way too ambitious. Like, you look at something like a Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I remember sometimes I would put it on handheld and I was like, Jesus Christ, what the hell happened to the resolution? There's so many pixels in here. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, when it comes to these titles, one thing that carries them more than anything else, it's not their technical prowess, it's not their resolution, it is their art. The art is what really creates the suspension of disbelief that enables me to completely immerse myself into the world of the Xenoblade Chronicles games. I really like the art style that they pick for the characters, and they've greatly improved it from the version that you either played on the Wii or on the 3DS. The game looks much more like what you've seen, for instance, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. As a matter of fact, I suspect they might be using the same engine. I'm not sure. I didn't really look too much into it. But the art style with the exaggerated features on characters and whatnot is definitely something that kind of like jumps to the eye. If you've played any of the other Xenoblade games before, you'll be like, oh, this is very different from what they did in the original title. They've went with the art style that they've done for Xenoblade Chronicles X a lot more in this one, and a little bit of inspiration for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But I always felt like the art in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is much more chibi style, if that makes sense, whereas Xenoblade Chronicles X had the more, the more serious tones, but with exaggerated features. So if that makes sense, you guys should be seeing some stuff, some gameplay in the background, which should enable you to see exactly what I'm talking about. So when it comes to improvements, there's that. There's also another system that they've added in, which is expert mode, that essentially allows you to change the levels of your characters. While it is something that I do like the fact that they included in there, I'm not entirely sure that that is the most elegant solution for the problem of players like me that just gorge themselves on side quests, and then eventually what happens is when you go back to the main storyline, your character is just like grossly overleveled. That's already happening to me, so every now and then, for those of you that are watching, like, I'm going to be posting a full playthrough on my secondary channel, because I've been live streaming the whole thing on Twitch and all that. But for those of you that have been following through with that playthrough, you've already seen me, mess around a little bit with the expert mode that enables you to basically de-level your characters so that you maintain a little bit of challenge as you are running through the world. But it really isn't the most optimum solution. I almost wish that there was like just an option for me to be like, hey, just turn this thing on and you can give me like a recommended level for the areas that I'm in to maintain relevancy, so that I can go and I can just gorge out on, EXP from side quests and stuff like that. And then I can just turn this mode on because, I'm going into an area and I'll be wondering, should I be level 26 in this area? Should I be level 27? So I'll play with it. And then I'll put myself at level 27. Then suddenly a level 35 enemy shows up out of nowhere. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's like, I could have been 35. But you know, there is that kind of like disconnect in terms of levels, which is not super important if you just don't care. You can just like blow through the game, and you know, just not worry too much about it. The game has a lot of options for people that struggle with combat and stuff like that. If you die a couple of times, again, be like, hey, you want to turn on casual mode and whatnot. So for anyone that has problems understanding the combat, you know, you'll still be able to play through the game and finish the game. You don't really have to worry too much about that. I imagine that casual mode is probably just like allow you to burn through everything, not have to worry about grinding quests or anything like that if you just want to enjoy the story, which, by the way, when it comes to the story of Xenoblade Chronicles, I greatly enjoyed it. The beginning of the story, just like at the very start, in the very first couple of hours, already so much stuff happens. And I always find it interesting how the story beats that they make in a Xenoblade game just resonate so well with me. Maybe it's me. I'm not saying that this stuff resonates with everybody, but just like with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, some of the stuff that happens at the start, I'm just like, holy crap, what the hell? X doesn't really have like a big thing right at the start. I think X has more of moments about exploration and stuff like that. And yeah, all of that stuff when it comes to the story, personally, I greatly enjoy it. I'm not going to be spoiling anything for people that, you know, want to actually play the game and whatnot. But the story is pretty cool from what I've experienced in my 70 plus hours on the 3DS. And I'm slowly catching up to where I was in my previous save, but I'm really taking it slower this time, doing a lot of additional exploration, because the world of this game is just so friggin' beautiful that a lot of the times I'll just be walking through a zone and I'll just look around, see the vistas, and they just look great. Now, I understand that this is probably a game that a lot of you guys of my usual audience might be like, I don't understand. Like, you're into Monster Hunter, you're into Dark Souls, how are you into this? And I can't explain it, but this, when it comes to JRPGs, this is hands down my favorite one. I also really like the Persona series and all of that, but like Xenoblade Chronicles has a very special place in my heart, and the definitive edition is pretty much everything that I could have wanted out of the remake and then some. Like, I'm completely hooked on it. I've stopped playing everything else. Basically, I stream this game, and whenever I have free time outside the stream, I play this game to continue doing side quests, and I'm leveling up the thing about Colony 6. For those of you who know what that is, I'm trying to work on the side quests for that, because that's something that I never really did on the 3DS. I just kind of like blew past it and went on with my life. And I'm also experimenting with different party members. By the way, for the footage that I'm showing here, I'm going to try to keep it mostly to the first 3 party members that you get, so that, again, I leave surprises for the people that want to enjoy it. But I feel like one of the other things that I would like to just mention is that the Xenoblade Chronicles saga does amazingly well is the awesome sense of scale. So this whole game takes place in these 2 titans. There's the Mechonis and the Bionis. And whenever you are going through the world, you can usually see at the very start of the game, you'll see Mechonis, because you start the game in the Bionis. And it's the sense of scale that you get from just like sometimes looking up and you see Sword Valley, which is the sword that is across the 2 titans. It's just, you just really have to see it and explore it for yourself to understand the level of ambition that this game has. Now, some complaints that some people have every now and then whenever we talk about Xenoblade Chronicles, people are like, oh, what's the deal with the ridiculously high-level monsters in low-level areas? That, in my opinion, is a key part of exploration. It's the game kind of like challenging you to see how far you can get by trying to circumvent these threats. At least personally, I see it like that. I remember when I played Chronicles X, which in my opinion, the best exploration of Xenoblade Chronicles games is Chronicles X. Whenever I would play it, I would always try to like go a little bit further to just explore a little bit more of the map. And I would see like, oh my God, I'm like level 20 and there's a level 60 monster here. And I would always be like just trying to skirt the aggro range of the monster to get away. And sometimes you'd get away and your reward would be, you would be able to explore the area a little bit better, and maybe you would see something a little bit out of the ordinary, like some really cool vista, the cool looking waterfall. It's just like the visual experience of this game, even though it's not the best when it comes to performance or resolution or anything like that, the art style and the visual experience of exploring the world and just seeing the way that they designed everything, personally, I find that so satisfying that it's almost a thing unto itself. Now, that's not going to be something that everybody's going to be into, and you don't have to. You can just get in there, get through the combat, experience the story, go for all of the major story beats, and play the game that way. And like I said, if you get into difficulties, the game will offer you the casual option so that you can just like burn through all of the combat, not even have to worry too much about it. But it is more satisfying if you understand how the combat works, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, the combat in this game, it's almost like an MMO, except it's completely single player. So you have like a little skill bar at the bottom, which you'll probably see whenever I engage in combat in this gameplay. And that enables you to basically select the skills that you are going to do. Some of them require a specific position, like I will probably be playing as Shulk, because he's the character that I like to play as, but you can control any of the other characters that you unlock, so you're not locked into playing Shulk. Shulk is just going to be a lot more useful whenever you're fighting the big robots, because, you know, Shulk has the Monado, the big special weapon that makes everything tick in the world of Xenoblade Chronicles. I mean, it is called Xenoblade because of the Monado. So it's like Shulk is not mandatory to be on your party at all times. He just happens to be really useful, and he is the protagonist, which is why I play as Shulk. But all of the other characters all give you different play styles, and you can play around with them. There'll be a spellcaster at some point that I won't talk too much about. And there's some other quirky characters, like one of the characters in the party right now is the medic sniper. So there's a lot of variety in gameplay styles that you can have in Xenoblade Chronicles if you choose to do so. And eventually, even after you finish the game, there are still like tons and tons of bosses hidden throughout the world for you to come back and fight. There's tons of side activities for you to still do. And there's just a lot of stuff to do and a lot of things for you to really sink your teeth into if you are into this kind of game. Because like I said, at the end of the day, it's not for everyone. If you're not into JRPGs, most likely you are not going to enjoy it. If you are someone who completely abhors mundane side quests, then you are definitely going to be upset because there is a lot of it in this game. But like I mentioned, it's like the side quests in this game is just the means to an end to give you additional incentive to go on like exploration journeys. Just like, hey, go kill 5 monsters that just happen to be like way over here off the beaten path, right? And you're gonna go there and maybe you'll see, holy crap, look at this really cool waterfall. Look at this area. Look at how this cave connects down here. Like, just the level design, I find it very satisfying to try and explore everything and try to figure out what makes everything tick and like how to get the specific hidden areas. That's always something that I enjoy in these titles. But you know, if you're someone who prefers a more linear experience, there's still the main story for you to go through. Or maybe if you don't enjoy the themes or the art, maybe it's just not for you. But at the end of the day, I'm super happy with the remaster that they made. Maybe I'll do a review video when I'm done with the game. But for now, it's just going to be me live streaming the crap out of it and just enjoying myself, because I've been waiting for this one for quite some time because I did not want it to play it on the 3DS. And now that I get to play it on the big screen, it's super, super satisfying, and I'm super happy about it. Again, it's not a perfect game, but when it comes to a remake of an older title, they did a really good job. But like I said, if you're someone that is extremely anal about, frame rates and resolutions and all these things, and if you're going to be really nitpicky about it, like, what are you even doing playing on the Nintendo Switch, to be completely honest? You're never going to be someone that's going to be happy with this console. It's just the fact of life. It's a very limited system in terms of hardware, therefore it's never going to give you, oh hell yeah, 4K 60. It's just not a thing. But like I said, the art style of the game more than makes up for it. But you know, this is a very biased opinion from someone that just happens to really enjoy the series, so it's worth what it's worth. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy this video, hit the dislike button. Feedback is important. Either way, if you usually enjoy my content, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that usual jazz. And remember, try to stay safe. Try to stay indoors if you can. If you have to go to work, then take all of the due precautions. We are still under a pandemic and all that jazz, so let's avoid spreading it any more than it needs to be spread. Again, thank you for watching. Peace out.